You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
This is Rachel Zegler. Her incredibly off-putting personality is not the only thing you will get out of Rachel Zegler while talking to her. She will remind you that she hates Snow White.
Like, these animators are on shaky ground.
Yes, correct.
What happened with the actor strike? Did they settle that? Is that over?
Rachel Zegler, the much-talked-about lead in Disney's Snow White remake, is back in the headlines, this time for a bold political statement supporting Free Palestine. Her stance has reportedly thrown Disney executives into panic mode as they scramble to contain the potential fallout. With backlash already brewing, the fear of a full-blown boycott seems increasingly realistic. This controversy has snowballed into something far bigger than anyone expected. Even Joe Rogan, the podcast king known for diving into everything from MMA fights to conspiracy theories, couldn't resist weighing in on the Snow White drama. His involvement highlights just how surreal and widespread this entire situation has become. For Disney, it's turning into a lesson that sometimes the storms you face are the ones you help create. Before diving into Joe Rogan's take, let's rewind and see how this chaos spiraled out of control. It all kicked off in August 2024, when Disney released the first teaser for Snow White on YouTube. What should have been a moment of excitement quickly turned into a PR disaster of epic proportions. Within weeks, the trailer smashed records, but for all the wrong reasons, earning the title of the most disliked movie teaser in YouTube history, with nearly 1 million dislikes compared to a measly 68,000 likes. In just 24 hours, the teaser had already racked up a jaw-dropping 193,000 dislikes, sending Disney scrambling to do damage control. The comment section? Brutal. One user perfectly summed up the sentiment. "I came here because I saw on Facebook this video has over 1 million downvotes, and I just had to join in. It wasn't just rejection, it was a full-on revolt." Audiences weren't quietly dismissing the film, they were uniting in shared outrage, turning this backlash into a viral movement. Another commenter chimed in with biting sarcasm, "Wow, Disney, you truly are incredible. It took you 3 years, multiple rewrites, unnecessary CGI, and $209 million just for me to enjoy the comment section of a movie I'll never watch. Bless you." The message couldn't have been clearer. Fans weren't just disappointed, they were downright fed up and eager to make their frustrations heard. But what exactly went so catastrophically wrong to unleash this tidal wave of backlash? Fans have pointed to a mix of questionable casting choices and baffling creative decisions as the primary culprits. One of the most criticized moves, Disney's decision to replace the beloved Seven Dwarfs with a group of diverse magical creatures. While the studio likely saw this as a step toward inclusivity, it backfired spectacularly. The change not only alienated fans of the original Snow White, but it also drew criticism from actors with dwarfism, who accused Disney of sidelining them from roles they've traditionally been represented in. What was meant to be a progressive choice ended up deepening the controversy, leaving Disney in an even bigger PR mess. In an attempt to patch up the backlash, Disney made a last-minute pivot, replacing the magical creatures with CGI versions of the iconic Seven Dwarfs. But instead of solving the problem, this fix only added fuel to the fire. The CGI characters looked stiff, lifeless, and oddly uninspired, prompting fans to question how a live-action remake could somehow feel less authentic than the 1937 animated original. Yet, at the heart of the controversy sat the biggest lightning rod of all, Rachel Zegler, Disney's choice to play Snow White. At first, Zegler's casting offered a glimmer of hope for fans, but that optimism quickly turned to frustration when her comments about the original Snow White resurfaced.
Before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story. With a guy who literally stalks her.
What are you doing?
In an interview, Zegler dismissed the original as extremely dated and took aim at its romance, calling it creepy and weird. Her remarks struck a nerve with fans who had grown up loving the timeless tale, viewing it as a cherished piece of cinematic history. What was meant to be a nostalgic remake now felt like a direct attack on the magic of the original. Zegler's dismissive tone only made matters worse. Fans saw her remarks as a slap in the face, not just to the original creators, but to the generations who hold Snow White as a treasured piece of their childhood.
Disagree with this sentiment. Just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business. Thanks.
Instead of addressing the backlash or distancing itself from Zegler's critiques, Disney appeared to double down by letting her comments stand unchallenged. This decision further alienated even their most loyal supporters, leaving many to wonder if the studio had lost touch with its audience entirely. In a desperate attempt to mend the fallout, Disney sent Rachel Zegler on a press tour to drum up excitement for the film. However, her efforts to walk back her earlier critiques fell flat.
This is Rachel Zegler. Her incredibly off-putting personality is not the only thing you will get out of Rachel Zegler while talking to her. She will remind you that she hates Snow White.
With fans finding her sudden praise for the project insincere, the damage had already been done, and her earlier remarks were still fresh in everyone's minds. To add insult to injury, her portrayal of Snow White in the promotional material felt like a far cry from the kind-hearted, gentle princess audiences had grown up loving. Instead of building excitement, it only deepened the disconnect between Disney and its disenchanted fans. Zegler's portrayal of Snow White came across as brash and condescending, making fans wonder why Disney had abandoned the original character's charm and warmth. Just as the backlash was reaching its peak, another bombshell surfaced. In a resurfaced 2022 interview with Entertainment Weekly, Zegler confessed that as a child, the animated classic had frightened her so badly that she avoided watching it for over a decade. For many fans, this revelation only added to the perception that she was disconnected from the spirit of the beloved film. In the same interview, Zegler labeled the original film as extremely dated in its portrayal of women, and declared that the remake would redefine the phrase fairest of them all, to emphasize justice over beauty. While some appreciated this as a fresh, modern perspective, others saw it as yet another swipe at the original's legacy. To many, it felt like a deliberate attempt to rewrite what made Snow White iconic in the first place, further alienating fans who cherished the classic. The backlash quickly spilled onto TikTok, where users began drawing comparisons between Rachel Zegler and Halle Bailey, the star of Disney's The Little Mermaid. Unlike Zegler, Bailey had embraced her role with grace, praising the original story while adding her own touch, which earned her widespread admiration for respecting the film's legacy. Zegler's dismissive attitude, on the other hand, felt like a rejection of the original's magic, leaving fans frustrated and disappointed. The contrast only fueled the growing divide between Disney and its disillusioned audience. One viral comment captured the mood perfectly. Disney managed to cast someone for Snow White whose entire personality on a marketing tour is, "I hate Snow White." Zegler's negativity toward the original story left many fans scratching their heads, wondering why Disney would choose an actress who appeared to have so little appreciation for the beloved classic. For a film meant to celebrate its legacy, the choice felt increasingly baffling, and fans weren't shy about voicing their disapproval. Fans are now questioning, how can someone who didn't connect with Snow White as a child, and still seems to have reservations about it, successfully bring one of Disney's most iconic characters to life? But the controversy goes deeper than Zegler's remarks. It has become a symbol of Disney's broader missteps in reimagining their classic stories. To many, it feels like the studio has lost sight of what made these tales timeless, replacing their heart and charm with forced modern updates that alienate the very audiences who grew up loving them. The fallout has been enormous, and as Joe Rogan pointed out,
like, these animators are on shaky ground.
Yes, correct.
What happened with the actor strike? Did they settle that? Is that over?
She didn't stop there. Zegler shifted the narrative, framing herself as a victim of relentless online harassment. She described her experience as an inevitable downside of being in the public eye.
I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
Arguing that actors are subjected to constant scrutiny, no matter what they say or do. While some sympathized with her, others felt that her comments deflected accountability and missed the point of fans' deeper frustrations with her dismissive attitude and Disney's creative choices. Zegler lamented her situation, but it seems she's forgotten her own words as she's landed herself back in hot water yet again. Like clockwork, she continues to spark controversy, with every few weeks bringing a new comment or action that reignites public outrage. This constant cycle has turned the lead-up to Snow White into a storm of negativity, leaving many to wonder if the film is destined to be an inevitable disaster. Recently, Rachel Zegler stirred up more controversy by taking to Instagram to share her outrage over a political upset she was deeply passionate about. She expressed heartbreak over Donald Trump's election victory against Vice President Kamala Harris, a sentiment that quickly polarized audiences. In a now-deleted Instagram story, she wrote, "I am speechless and heartbroken," a statement that alienated a significant portion of the public and added yet another layer of backlash to the already tense lead-up to Snow White. Zegler's Instagram story continued, "I hope Trump voters, Trump supporters, and Trump himself, I shouldn't be this shocked, but I am. I am heartbroken for my friends who awoke in fear this morning." Her remarks quickly drew sharp criticism, with detractors labeling her comments as unhinged and branding her a liability for Disney. Some went as far as to demand that the studio permanently shelve Snow White and cut ties with Zegler entirely, arguing that her involvement had become toxic to the brand and its reputation. Rather than retreating, Zegler doubled down. In a follow-up post, she described the election results as a symptom of a deep, deep sickness in the United States, and criticized Trump supporters for embracing what she called a foolish sense of security, masculinity, and intelligence. She further escalated the tension by directly calling out Elon Musk, blaming him for his perceived influence over the election outcome. The post ignited even more backlash, with critics accusing her of alienating audiences and fueling divisiveness at a time when Disney was already grappling with intense scrutiny. Zegler urged her followers to leave Twitter, now X, altogether, declaring, "Get off Elon's app." This plea only added fuel to the fire, with critics accusing her of being overly dramatic and out of touch, further alienating even moderate audiences. But Zegler's controversies don't end with her political opinions. Case in point, her infamous dramatic reading of Britney Spears' tweets during the pop star's public feud with her sister, Jamie Lynn Spears. What many saw as a tone-deaf attempt at humor only served to reinforce the perception that Zegler thrived on stirring the pot, no matter the context. While Zegler likely intended her dramatic reading of Britney Spears' tweets to be lighthearted, fans of Britney found it incredibly tone-deaf, especially given the serious undertones of the number Free Britney movement. But that wasn't the only time Zegler found herself in hot water. She also made headlines for publicly airing her grievances about not being invited to the 2022 Academy Awards, despite starring in West Side Story, a film that earned 7 nominations, including Best Picture. Her complaints struck many as unprofessional, sparking criticism that she was too quick to play the victim. While some sympathized with Zegler's frustration, others viewed her social media outburst as unprofessional, pointing out that many actors in similar situations handle such disappointments with far more grace. Now, with all these controversies piling up, Zegler has become an undeniably polarizing figure. Fans and critics alike are left speculating. Will Disney decide to cut ties with the actress to save its reputation, or will the studio stand by her and press forward with Snow White, bracing for whatever fallout may come? Disney's attempts to contain the Snow White controversy seem to be backfiring spectacularly. In a recent move, the studio released a new trailer for the film, only to take it down shortly after its debut. The decision came on the heels of the original trailer amassing over 1.4 million dislikes, and many speculate Disney was trying to avoid another avalanche of negative reactions. Instead, the abrupt removal only fueled more criticism, with fans accusing the company of scrambling to salvage a project that feels doomed from the start. The decision to pull the new teaser quickly became a controversy in its own right, sparking fresh speculation about the film's troubled production. Adding to the chaos, leaked set photos from 2022 resurfaced, showcasing a highly controversial reimagining of the Seven Dwarfs. Rather than casting actors with dwarfism, Disney opted for a diverse group of performers of varying heights, genders, and body types. While the studio likely intended this as a progressive update, critics accused Disney of pandering to political correctness and ignoring the significance of representation for actors with dwarfism. The move only deepened the backlash against the film. Disney eventually confirmed the changes, stating they had consulted with members of the dwarfism community to ensure the portrayal wouldn't perpetuate harmful stereotypes. However, the explanation did little to calm the storm, as many felt the changes erased meaningful representation rather than improving it. At this point, public sentiment had taken such a sharp turn that many viewers began rooting for the evil queen over Snow White. Some even joked that the villain seemed more relatable and charismatic than the film's protagonist, a comment that speaks volumes about just how far the backlash had spiraled. Even former Disney Imagineers, those who once helped bring Disney's magic to life, have weighed in, openly criticizing the project. Some suggested the studio should skip a theatrical release altogether, arguing it would be far less humiliating to quietly drop the film on on Disney Plus than risk a box office catastrophe. Joe Rogan echoed this sentiment, saying, "It might be better for Disney to just release this on Disney Plus and avoid the backlash." His remarks captured the growing consensus. This film has become more of a ticking time bomb than a potential win for Disney. It's a bold take, but one that feels increasingly logical as the negativity surrounding Snow White refuses to die down. So, what's next for Disney and Rachel Zegler? Will the studio decide to distance itself from its polarizing star, or will they stand firm and hope the storm passes? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And while you're here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos. We've got plenty more juicy stories coming your way. Stay tuned for all the latest drama.